All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 85th episode of the Art of Awesomeness podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Kiswani. We have a pretty good episode for you guys today, but first, of course, we have the national days, and we got a good list today. We got International Being You Day, so I guess just whoever you are, just be that person for today. National Buy a Musical Instrument Day. So if you don't have a musical instrument, go out and buy one. I guess, if you want to go the cheap route, you can buy a recorder. And if you want to go super megalord expensive, you can go with a piano, but I can leave that one up to you guys. National Craft Distillery Day. So, National Maritime Day, National Solitaire Day, National Vanilla Pudding Day, and World Paloma Day. The last one is the only one I don't know. I'm going to click on that real quick because I got this pulled up on my computer. World Paloma Day. Oh, it's a cocktail. Okay. National Drink of Mexico. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's what that is. Did not know that one. And that's our national days. So we have an interesting topic for today. It's a little bit more different than our previous episodes, Backrooms. That episode was a little bit more experimental and off of something that someone on Instagram had DM'd me about. So that's why we did that episode for anyone who was looking for any further clarity. But this episode is more so, I think, akin to what many of the listeners of this podcast might be experiencing. The majority of the listeners of this podcast tend to be people who are my age. So that kind of, 18, 19, 20, 21 age range, that's about, I would say, a good 70% of our audience by looking at the listener analytics. So a good amount of our listeners are people who are within this demographic. And so I think that this episode pertains to that group. So I'm hoping that this episode will give a little bit of insight to my peers, so to speak. And the episode, I didn't really have a title in mind, but it is regarding college. If you are going down that college road, I know that not everyone does that. I got friends who went into the military. Some people who are just working normal jobs right out of high school. They went right into the workforce. But I do know that I want to say maybe 60 or 70% of the people who I knew in high school are now in some form or another of college or higher education. So this episode is going to be surrounding that, and specifically 2-year college and whether or not 2-year college is worth it, because I myself just graduated from 2-year college, a junior college, and I'm now transferring to a 4-year to complete my degree. 4-year degree, that is. And so I've now officially, literally just last week, I graduated, went to the whole commencement ceremony thing, which is pretty cool. Definitely nice to do that after not being able to do that in high school. But I just finished junior college. I attended San Joaquin Delta College. For any of those of you who are in my local area, I'm sure you'll heard of that college. I'm sure that there are actually some of you listening who also attended that school, or maybe are planning to attend that school. I don't know. But that's the one I recently just graduated from after 2 years of attending that school. I'm now officially done. And this week has really wiped me out. I'm very tired right now, if you can tell. I don't have my normal energy because, or I guess I am kind of monotone most of the time, but internally I don't have that much energy because this week has been pretty draining, from finals and then commencement and everything that comes with that. And so what I really wanted to cover, being a recent graduate from 2-year college, is whether or not it's worth it and whether or not you should do 2-year college as opposed to going to one college all 4 years. And I understand that this is going to change for some people depending on, the amount of financial aid you get, because I know pretty much everyone gets some form or fashion of financial aid typically. So depending on how much you're having to pay for a college, or how financially cumbersome it is for you to attend a 4-year college all 4 years, it depends. But I would say for me, the biggest pro of going to community college for the first 2 years and then transferring to a 4-year is because I really didn't have to pay much of anything. My grades essentially paid for my education because I was able to upkeep good grades these past 2 years and thus got financial aid for my college and pretty much went to school these past 2 years free. Basically, I think I paid about $12 a semester to attend a school to get a degree like any other degree that you would get. An associate's right now, but I'm going for a bachelor's. But this is a real win, I would say, for anyone who is like myself, who is very conscious about finances and the amount of money that you're spending on certain things. I'm a very frugal person, put lightly. I definitely, when thinking about what it is I'm getting for what I'm paying, I like to really make sure that I'm weighing options the right way. And so I had every opportunity to attend 4 year college right out of high school. In fact, I got accepted to a 4 year high school, 4 year high school, 4 year college right out of high school that I really wanted to attend. But and I got accepted to it, but the financial burden that would have weighed on myself and my family, to me at least, ultimately wasn't worth it. And so I relegated to community college for 2 years, of which I applied to three, and I got accepted to them. I eventually chose Delta because it was very close. It was very close to home, which ended up not really mattering since it was all online anyways. But I at this point, I didn't know when COVID was going to end or not, so I figured, if I'm going to commute to college every day, and it's going to be in a college that's kind of in commuting distance from my house, I wanted it to be the closest one. So I picked the closest one and the one that my school kind of had connections with, which made the transition process to that school easier out of high school. But all in all, I would say that financially, the biggest kind of benefit from doing 2 year college right out the gate instead of going right into a 4 year is just that financially you're generally in a better situation because 2 year college is going to be significantly less financially than 4 year college. And so if you're like me and you're one of those people who's really trying to graduate debt free, or with absolutely as minimal debt as possible, you want to make sure that you're trying to pick your battles carefully, so to speak. And, it can be tempting when you're right outside of college. I keep messing stuff up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm tired. Right when you come out of high school, it might be tempting to just, oh, I got accepted to this really nice, 4 year college, or I feel like I can get accepted to a lot of these 4 year colleges. It might be more, I don't know. You might get more clout for that, just because like, oh yeah, I'm going to UC this or UC that. But honestly, the best thing about the 2 year education is that you're getting essentially the same education, because when you are going to 2 year college, you're essentially just getting that kind of general education that they do for the first 2 years of college, that you would have gotten at a 4 year anyway, but for significantly less money that you have to spend, meaning potentially way less debt if debt is a concern, which it should be a concern for everybody. I don't know a single person who wants to be in debt. But financially, in my mind, and I think for most people's situation, again, I can't speak for everyone, but I think that for the majority of people, community college is just a far more financially sound option. And look, again, if you can afford it and it's within your financial reach, then yeah, if you want to go to 4 year college and have the 4 year kind of an experience, more power to you. But for a financially conscious person like myself and someone who really doesn't care that much about the the prestige of the school or stuff like that, I mean it's a factor, like anything else, but I'm just the kind of person who sees a degree as a degree. And so, if I can get the degree that I need for what I want to do, then it doesn't really matter to me so much what school I go to, so long as it makes sense and it's within my it's within my grasp, essentially. So I'm not going to overshoot something that is way beyond my abilities, financially speaking, right? Or just logistically, because, I like the way it sounds in my head, or because of the, I don't know, prestige of it or whatever. Because to me, it's not really worth it if you get a degree at a school you liked, if, you're working for decades upon decades after that trying to pay off debt from just 4 years of college, when you could just go to college, get a degree, get a good job, and then, begin living your life free of debt, or at the very least, with very minimal debt that is very easily paid off right out the gate. So to me, I think that community college, 2-year college, like the one I just graduated from, is definitely a smart choice. And I don't think that people should be that hard on themselves for, attending a community college instead of a 4-year, because I know there can be some pressure to just, oh, if you're going to community college, some people might feel a bit cheated or something like that. Like, oh, well, I'm not getting that 4-year, what's the UC, right? Like a UC Santa Cruz experience. I don't even know much about UC Santa Cruz, but, just one of those things where you're young and you're out of high school and you want to start living your life the way you want to. And it's like, well, I don't really want to go to Delta or Las Positas, but, it might be Delta and Las Positas that are going to give you the exact same education that you would have received, anywhere else for a far lower fraction of the cost. And, the majority, I would say, of these 2-year colleges have plans and programs that can even help you to transfer to a 4-year college of your choice if you want to move your education in that direction. So all that to say, I think that 2-year is definitely the more financially sound option for the majority of people. And I would encourage you not to feel bad or weird. It's kind of weird to say out loud, but I know that a lot of us think it, right outside of high school, you might not want to go to community college because it doesn't sound as prestigious maybe as just going straight to a 4-year. But honestly, if you're getting a 4-year degree, wherever you end up transferring to, that's the school's name that's going to be on your degree, right? So if you went to Las Positas, right, for 2 years, graduated, and then you transferred, let's say, to, I don't know, San Diego State, or if you transferred to San Jose State, or if you transferred to UC Berkeley, if you transferred to UC Santa Cruz, any one of these UCs, UC Merced, if you transferred any of these places, your ultimate diploma, your ultimate degree, if that's what matters so much to you, the name on it, it's going to be the name of that 4-year college that you transferred to. So there is that to consider. It's not like, this small community college is going to follow you for the rest of your life. It's just a nice transitional point from high school up to 4-year college financially, in my opinion. And so in that sense, I think that 2-year college, for me at least, financially was definitely worth it. And I think that for a lot of people, they're going to find it to be the worthwhile option. And so I would highly encourage people who are deciding to go down the college road to do that, if it's within their ability, one, and then also if it makes sense. Again, if you get like a full ride to a 4-year where finances really aren't that big of an issue, then there's no real reason at that point financially to go to a 2-year, right? But if you're trying to be financially conscious and you're maybe not the most affluent person, or you don't come from the most affluent family, which I know a lot of us can on some level or another relate to, then I would say that 2-year college is definitely a good option financially. And this is where some people will kind of say, well, okay, financially, sure, but are you necessarily getting the better education? And that kind of depends on the school. Some schools are just kind of crappy schools, and some schools are actually really, really good. I know that the college that I went to, San Joaquin Delta College, is a good college. It has good rankings, good standards, I guess, amongst colleges in California and the United States, just in general. So it wasn't like I was going to a bad school. It's not like I got a bad education from that school. I got a AA degree from that school that is, it's not, again, not my ultimate goal, but an AA degree from Delta is not nothing, and it's definitely a solid school. I will say that their communication skills are lacking. That is one fair criticism of Delta. That's just one small gripe I have with their school. But as far as the education goes, if you're just trying to get a general, gen ed education, as they say, which you're going to get again in 4-year college anyways, 2-year college education and the first 2 years of college and a 4-year college education, they're not different really. You're not going to be learning some crazy new, revelations in the first 2 years of a 4-year college. You're learning pretty much the same thing, whether you're at a 2-year college or if you're just in your first 2 years of a 4-year. So financially, I would say it's a good option, and I'm glad that I made that decision because I got accepted to a 4-year that was very expensive. I got into the program even that I wanted to get into. I didn't just get accepted to the school. I got accepted to the very specific program that I wanted to go into. So I definitely could have gone down that road, but financially it didn't make sense. Logistically, it was just not the best move. And in the long run, it actually worked out very, very well because COVID shut down everything. College and all the colleges went on online. And so there were a lot of people who got accepted to a 4-year college right out of high school, and they were planning on attending there, and they had already put in their intent to enroll, and they were already in the system, and then COVID hits, and then their first 1 or 2 years is spent completely online. And so it's they didn't even actually get to experience the first 2 years of their 4-year college education anyways. And I know that that's more specific to our current times, and I know that that's probably not the same, that's not going to be totally applicable in a decade from now, because obviously I hope there's no more pandemics in that time, and so that people, of course, will be able to go all 4 years to the college of their choosing. But at least it worked out especially well for me in my situation and a lot of the other people in my generation who went to 2-year college during this time, because a lot of people were super bummed out. It's like, wow, I got to this 4-year and I can't even go there, right? It's like, well, if you go to a 2-year college, you already know kind of in the back of your mind that that's not the college that you're going to end from anyways, right? You're just going to end up transferring to a 4-year at some point. But also, because it's not that big of a deal and it's not like your ultimate goal, it didn't really sting as much. This like, oh, everything's online. It's because that at some point you're going to be able to transfer to a 4-year where you're going to be able to actually go there anyways. So again, that's more specific to the time in which this recording is taking place. But I think for a lot of people, it's kind of I guess you could say it's somewhat of a proverb to say that, sometimes things do generally happen for a reason, and the way that the world might project the way that you should do something is not necessarily the way that you should do it. The world says, oh, everyone just got to go to 4-year college right outside of high school. That's not necessarily the case. There are a lot of paths to achieve one goal. If you're trying to get just a 4-year degree, if there's anything I've learned, there are many, many paths to get one thing that a lot of people get. There's a lot of ways to do it than just going to one school for 4 years consecutively. There are a lot of other very different ways to get the same degree from even the same school that is on a different timeline, that involves different schools, that is completely different to the to kind of the common narrative that you might see for young people going into the college scene, right? I kind of grew up thinking that you do 4 years of high school and then you do 4 years of college, and that's kind of what they tell you all of high school, but they don't really delve into many of the other options that are out there. They definitely don't delve into the workforce or the military. It's definitely just all college when you're in high school. You don't really hear about the other two things at all, really. And then even when it comes to college, there's really only just one general narrative that they push, and that's basically, well, it's kind of 4-year or bust kind of a thing. And maybe your school is different, but at least at my school, I know that they definitely kind of, there was very little emphasis put on anything else, let's just say, other than 4-year college right after high school. So definitely keep it in the back of your mind. If there's anything I've learned from this, is that there's definitely more than one path to achieve the goal that you want to achieve. And so, if you find yourself on a path that maybe isn't the one that everyone else is going after, but you're still on the right path, so to speak, I wouldn't get that demotivated in the matter, just because you're kind of contrary. If you're still getting after it and you're still on the path to achieving whatever goal it is you want to achieve, then to me, at least, it doesn't really matter whether or not it's that common of a path to take. As long as it's the right path for your situation and you're ultimately going to achieve whatever goal you want to achieve, I think that you should just go down the path that makes the most sense for your situation, and not the path that's just the path. Well, everyone does this, so that means that you have to do it too. I think it can be a bit more nuanced than that. And at least in my situation, it was a bit more nuanced than that. So that's something that I would say as well. Just something that I've kind of learned from, the process of transferring and stuff like that, and finishing up these 2 years at Delta to get my AA or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely been a journey, and I've definitely learned some interesting things along the way. Quite a few things actually along the way, not necessarily academically, but just the way the college system works, the way that the amount of paths that you can take in your life right outside of high school are definitely not as linear as some people may make it seem. It's definitely a lot more of a web than it is just one linear path. There's a million different ways that things could turn out, and you very rarely know the way that things are going to turn out until things just kind of fall into place as they should. And so, one kind of closing thought on this would be just don't worry so much about what everyone else is doing in relations to college, or in relations to whatever they do right outside of high school or in their early adulthood. Just because everyone else is doing it, and just because, let's say, it's a trend, does not necessarily mean that, one, it's the right thing to do in general, or the right thing to do for yourself. So make sure that whatever path that you're choosing, whether it be 2-year college, 4-year college, or anything outside of the realm of college, whatever it is that you choose to do, make sure that you are doing it for the right reasons, and that it is actually beneficial and right for your situation and for your goals and your purposes, instead of just what might be pleasing to the majority of people, right? So those are just some thoughts that I have. Having graduated just this last week, I kind of was just thinking this stuff in my head, and I thought, it might be worthwhile for me to just say a few points and ideas that I have kind of come to realize, having finished and wrapped up these past 2 years of college. As of now, halfway done. So hopefully that this podcast episode helps you guys in some way in your college journey, or whatever else it is that you want to do. Definitely do what is right for your situation over what the majority of people do, because a lot of people come out of college with debt. A lot of people get degrees that aren't as useful as they think. So definitely make sure that you pay attention and really kind of discern what is worth it and what is not worth it for you to do, what makes sense for you to do and what doesn't, financially, as far as your goals are concerned, career-wise. I mean, make sure that you're actually doing things that are making sense for your situation. And I think that as long as you're doing things that make sense for your specific situation, taking everything that is important to you into account, I think that you should be far better off than someone who is just kind of going with the flow and just doing what kind of the herd is doing. Because a lot of people in the herd are getting screwed over in college, and I think that it's way easier to get screwed over in college when you don't take your nuances into account, and you just kind of do the whole cookie cutter 4-year thing right after high school. I think it's far smarter of people to really assess their situations and make those moves accordingly instead of just kind of following the herd. So that's just some stuff I had to say regarding kind of 2-year college and its benefits, at least to me in my situation, and just some food for thought, things to think about. I know a lot of people are my age and going through the same things that I'm going through. So hopefully, this helped you out a little bit or gave you something to think about. And to everyone who's taking their finals right now, everyone who is doing transitional things in college, I do wish you all the best. And not just in, obviously your finals, but also in your life goals and things that you want to get done in this time of your life. I wish you all the best. Hopefully that everyone who's listening to this podcast is doing well. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. I won't waste your time anymore. Thank you guys for listening to the 85th episode of the Art of Awesomeness podcast. Very happy to have you guys listening. Stay tuned for episode 86, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Until then, stay tuned. Take care.